Hello fans of the modular shed. Well, the modular shed now has two sides. It has the feather edge side I put on t'other day, which is still there with its mixture of fixings, but it also now has the panels on the rear which are against the hedge, and they have my new type of fixings. Okay, that top panel only has two of the pullers brackets on, but the center panel has lifters and pullers. There's a lifter underneath those beams and a couple of pullers, and in fact the bottom panel I split the uprights so that I could put the lifter at that point, because it can't go further down because then it would interfere with the joist hanger metalwork. So I just split the upright and moved it further up. So the next thing I need to do is to copy the feather edge side onto the left hand side, and I'm going to do it to a sort of standard measurement. Now the distance between the posts is 1.2 meters or 1200 millimeters. So I'm going to use a height of 600 millimeters. It's a standard panel size, and in fact you may have noticed that the OSB rear wall is actually three separate OSB panels, 606 I think it is millimeters, sort of 2 foot by 1200 and something, sort of 4 foot. And the reason I've used small panels, and several of them, there are 3 there, is because one of the challenges I wanted to set myself, which I've not mentioned yet, is that everything I buy has to fit in my car. Now, even though my car's very tiny, let's go and have a look at my car. In fact, it's a Citroen C1 and it is a very small car, but remarkably you can fit 2.4 meter timbers in there. The fence posts went in there, and you can close the rear hatch. The feather edge went in there. Yeah, you can get 2.4 meter stuff in that car. Well, of course you can also get 600 by 1200 or 2 foot by 4 foot panels in there, and even the Modular corrugated roofing fitted in my car. Now of course it's probably more expensive to use OSB pre-cut to these sizes, but then of course if I used larger panels I'd have to have them delivered, and I'd somehow have to cut them up, and I don't have a circular saw because I don't really like them very much. So as I was saying, the feather edge on this side is going to be built into 3 smaller sections, a bit like those OSB panels, 600 high, but actually slightly more than 600, because of course feather edge has to overlap. So I haven't quite done the maths yet, but I think it's going to be 5 of these feather edge boards per 600 millimeter upright, because these are 150, these feather edge, so 4 of them would fit 600 millimeters. You wouldn't get that extra bit that I need for the overlap, and in fact they wouldn't overlap each other. So yes, it'll be 5 feather edge boards, and that means that the sidewall can be taken off in 3 very lightweight sections, so it'll be very easy to do. Now these triangular sections up above the sidewalls are going to be the first generation windows, because I want to keep things really simple. So down here behind my Modular I have this stuff, which is this sort of corrugated, I think it's polycarbonate, sort of semi see-through, what would you call it, translucent if not transparent plastic material, so I can cut that into triangular shapes, and that will make the 2 windows, which will be triangular. And I've decided that the door, which will be temporarily on this front side, will look very similar to the feather edge side, only it'll have some hinges on it. And the way it's going to work is that the entire feather edge based door will swing out on hinges. It's going to be a big door and rather an ugly door. And then it's just going to be a case of filling gaps. So there are gaps between the floorboards. Well, I'm going to put a plywood, the thinnest plywood I can get, 6mm or something, a plywood skin over that so that it covers those gaps. There are gaps. There's a gap down there, but I think I'm going to put a support joist in there, and then I can fill the gap a bit like I've done here. You can see there's a gap there, and it's relatively easy to fill just with a 2x1. That's a bit of the blue batten. I won't put that in because it looks a bit naff, but yeah, just cut a piece of 2x1 and lay it down in there, screw it possibly to the joist, which is the top of which you can see there. Screw it down and fill that gap. There are also gaps up here. There are going to be gaps created by the corrugations, so I'm thinking some sort of spray filler foam for those. You can buy a sort of corrugated foam fillers, but they're terribly expensive, so I'm just going to get a can of spray foam and fill that in. And then there are these gaps above these rafters. Yeah, it's difficult to see, but there are gaps up there which I've got to fill somehow, and it might end up being the spray filler foam again. And when that's all done, module 1 will be complete. So what I might do is put the fence posts in for module 2, which is going to go here by the side of module 1. And that's going to be a very exciting moment, because it should hopefully stop all the comments about toilets and dunnies and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, that's today's work, which was mainly fitting those OSB panels to the rear of the shed. Should we just have a quick look around the back actually? And between the hedge and the shed, it looks like that, which you'd expect, I suppose. Well, that's it for today. Bye.